Right, Julie, thank you for helping me out with this demonstration. And we've not really talked before about what it is that you would like to explore, but the purpose of the exercise today is that we're going to explore together an area of your life, something that you'd be interested in getting more clarity about, something that you'd be interested in exploring different sort of angles and perspectives, really just getting more of an understanding of. So do you have an area in mind that you would like to explore and talk about?
That's a good question. I guess something around my beliefs about myself and my abilities to run a business, I think, probably. Because I know I'm a great coach and I'm still struggling with am I a business person? And what that means, and being taken seriously by friends and family for the business. And it's like, okay, so what is it that I'm not acknowledging in myself? Or I don't have any kind of necessarily any history in the family of it, and although I think I do, to be honest, but it was certainly never acknowledged. And I grew up with that whole thing of, there is a career path and this is what you do. You go do well at school, you go to university,
Okay,
and
I'm just going to pause you there because what I'd like you to do is choose a colour of pen that you think you would like to see some words written in for this exercise. So that's a green one. Let me just check that it's going to be just about.
Is it a bit light?
It's possibly a bit light. Maybe the slightly darker
Darker
one.
green.
Let's try that.
I'm quite fond.
That's even lighter.
Oh. Typical.
Third time lucky. Yeah, that's better.
Brilliant.
Just conscious of what the camera can see rather than what I can see.
Ah, yes. Good point.
What sort of headline would you give this area that we're going to be talking about? How would you? What sort of headline or description would you put on it?
The word that's jumping out of my head at the moment is self-belief.
And all I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to, as you were, I'm going to ask you to talk about self-belief and this area that you've summarised already. So I'm just going to ask you to talk through in any way that comes to mind for you, just to say whatever comes to mind for you. I'm going to write down words or maybe very short phrases that just seem to stand out or jump out from what you're saying. You might mark them out with some sort of emphasis, or they might seem like a particularly interesting word, or it might be a word that you repeat or something like that. But you just talk freely about whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
I'll write stuff down. I'll only interrupt you if I've missed something and I just need to check the actual wording of it. But hopefully we'll be okay. And we'll just do that for a few minutes until I've got a little stack of bits of paper.
Okay.
So whatever you'd like to tell me about self-belief.
So I know I'm capable, but it's the feeling of it. The difference between knowing in your head and feeling in your heart. I know I'm a great coach, and I know I'm learning to be a better business owner, and I know that through learning I'm going to make lots of mistakes and I'm going to get lots of feedback, and that's a natural progression. And I don't want to use the word struggle. I'm still challenged by the idea of seeing myself, when I try and visualise where I'm going, visualising myself as this successful business owner that people know, like and respect. They know, like and respect me for my coaching. I don't know, maybe it's not important, but somehow it feels it to me. It's a measure of my success for myself, I think. It's part of it's about proving it to myself that I can do it, that I can make a success of it. I think I felt that in the last few years in particular, I've been playing. And actually I want this to be much more serious but still fun. I guess some of it's about taking myself seriously. Yeah, it is around the self-belief thing, but it's not, don't know. Do I not, am I not going to feel self-belief in myself until I've actually done it? Do you know that, which sounds a bit crazy? I'd like to be able to believe it before I get there, if that's possible. Yeah, I think that's most of it. I guess as a family, I don't know, work's been an interesting one if I look at my parents, because neither of them did traditional. Dad was freelance and it was feast or famine. And he did a lot of the stuff that he loved, and Mum was a housewife for years, and then but heavily involved in community stuff, so she was always doing something. It wasn't like she wasn't active. And then she got a job when my parents divorced, and worked very hard for years. And then she went off and did, she retrained and became a therapist. But again, it was never, she was just a therapist. She was a therapist. It was not that she considered herself running a business. And maybe that's the thing that I'm struggling with, is the thing between being a coach and being a business, and marrying the two up. I don't feel like I have any good role models in my closest environment, and certainly I don't think anyone expects much or anything. People rarely ask me about, my family rarely ask me about my work, what I'm doing, show any interest. Which is kind of a bit weird. Yeah, I think that's probably about it. Is it about being recognised? Is it about, yeah. I think I want to recognise it for myself, actually, more than anything else. And it's not because I want to sit and brag about it, it's because I want to feel pleased with myself. It's a mark of achievement and success for me. Yeah, that's about it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So what I've now got is a little pile of bits of paper with some words and short phrases on. And we'll move on to the second part of the exercise.
Okay.
Okay, so for this next part of the exercise, I'm going to give you your pieces of paper with your words on. And we've got a bit of space here on the floor. What I would like you to do is, using this space that we've got here, I would like you to arrange these pieces of paper in whatever way makes sense to you. So organising them, grouping them or not grouping them, entirely up to you, in whatever way makes sense. So I'm going to get out of the way for you to do that.
Okay.
And if you could sort of orient yourself from this sort of angle.
Okay.
So point it, if you could be pointing that way.
Oh, point that way. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Just thinking about where the.
Yeah.
that's it,
Okay.
Perfect. And. I think if you could perhaps just come this way a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
It's a bit random. Golly, there really are a lot, aren't there?
There are, I think normally for the exercise, if you we'd end up with about 10 or 15, but
Golly.
it's interesting because there were 3 sort of distinct parts to what you were saying when you sort of stopped and said, right, that's about it, and then you carried on with something else. So,
I know, I'm a storyteller.
So that's interesting how we got.
It's a bit. It's a bit. It's a bit familiar, being a storyteller.
Okay, so that's all laid out.
There was a pattern, and then I abandoned it because it just seemed like too much like hard work. Might just put that on the mark of the carpet.
Okay. Would you just stand up for a moment?
Yeah, sure.
And just sort of getting a bit of distance, stepping back. What are the first things that you notice?
Seriously, just lots of bits of paper. And that actually I started to do it what seemed like a sort of logical for me, and then it just like, oh God, got too kind of complicated.
Are you aware of at what point you felt that?
When I realised there were lots more pieces of paper still to go.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm seeing that now.
Okay. So the pattern is the spacing between the pieces of paper is fairly consistent, but not completely.
Yeah.
There's a couple which seem not as consistently organised as the others.
Yeah.
Which ones stand out to you in that way?
Well, I guess there's a lot more space around self-belief, heart, head, the feeling of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hadn't. It certainly wasn't deliberate.
No.
I don't know, what else do I notice? I suppose self-belief being close to both head and heart. You know, in my head I know it, logically. And maybe it's still not feeling it in my heart. That real, deep belief in myself.
Okay. How is that significant for you?
Because I think that's how think that's how I've always structured my self-belief. It's a kind of feeling inside that I really believe no. But yeah, I'm not articulating myself very well. It's,
So if you were to see, or for a moment, those three cards that you've mentioned, self-belief, heart and head,
mm-hmm.
as some kind of centre of the shape that you've created, what do you then notice about how you've arranged the other cards?
I suppose there's some of the initial thoughts around it. That the feeling of it's important, that success is important as part of my self-belief. Oh dear. Don't know.
What do you think is significant about the spacing of the cards?
Truthfully, nothing. I can't. Would I just put things out? I don't know. They're kind of in rows, but in a circle, in a funny old way. I don't know what that's all about.
In rows, but in a circle.
Yeah, there's a kind of sense of a circle, but actually I can see there's also rows. It's like, oh, okay, what's that? What's that all about?
So when you think of rows in a circle, is there anything that comes to mind? Anything that reminds you of?
Well, rows are very logical.
Mm-hmm.
Circles? No.
When you combine those two together, is there anything that you've ever seen or experienced in your life when you think of rows in a circle, something that comes to mind or not?
No, I can't think of anything.
Okay.
Oh, I suppose a rainbow.
Rainbow. What does a rainbow symbolise to you?
Oh god, I'm going to get very logical about it. Actually, the first thing is gone. Rainbows. I guess just they make me smile. It's an upturned smile, isn't it? Nature, beauty of. There's so much to be seen in it.
What is important about you as a person, which gives you the ability to see that beauty of nature?
Important about me that allows me to see that. Appreciating stuff that's around me. Being able to see that. Yeah, just being able to appreciate that, enjoy it, love it. I'm never happier when I'm outdoors, actually.
Okay. When you look at this pattern, do you get any sense of movement?
No, not until you just suggested it. And now it feels like it's like a circular motion. It could be going round in circles. Yeah.
And it seemed from your hand gesture that it's rotating anti-clockwise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And rotating around which point? What's at the centre of that rotation?
Oh, actually, interesting. Head.
Head.
Yeah.
So we've got head, and now we've got this sort of circle around head, and then
Yeah.
others around that. And is there any sense of motion in terms of, do you feel like the cards are being pulled together or pushed apart? Or neither?
No, neither. Just moving as they kind of are. But
So kind of stable where they are, but
Yeah.
rotating around this
Yeah.
central point. Are the different layers, the rows as you put it, are they rotating at the same speed?
Oh golly. I guess so. Not really.
And as they rotate around head, is head also turning, or is that staying where it is?
Ooh, not sure. It might be moving.
Okay. And just to check, they're definitely rotating around head, not some other point that's in one of the gaps.
No, yeah, I'm not sure about that. I had a sense it was rotating around the heart bit, but the head bit rather.
Right.
But
Okay. So at this stage, is there anything that you would like to change in the way that you've organised the cards? Are there any that you'd like to move?
No, I don't think there are actually. I'm kind of happy with their randomness.
Are there any cards which, as you look at them now, are you questioning whether they really belong there at all?
No, because it is what it is.
So that's it then. We're done. Nothing can be done about it. Does this feel complete? Does it feel finished?
No, not entirely.
Is there anything missing?
Yeah, maybe I do want to change things actually. Bit resistant. This is one of the things I've discovered in COVID, that the irony of being a change maker who really does not like it if you push somebody into change. I'm okay when I decide my own change, but if somebody decides change and imposes it on me, I really don't like it.
Yeah.
And it's a real kind of...
So that initial resistance that you felt to changing anything in this pattern, where did you feel that coming from?
I think sometimes, accepting where you are with stuff.
So that's a logical.
Yeah, it is a very logical.
What's your instinctive answer to where within you is that coming from?
Where is the resistance coming from?
So, for example, where do you feel that in your body?
Oh, it's definitely here. It's definitely in my chest.
So thinking about that resistance and how somehow it's represented in this pattern here, what changes would you like to make?
Can I just go ahead and do them?
You can just go ahead and do whatever you like.
I seem to be making a little circle a better. It feels like trying to put the things that feel congruent for me together, and the stuff that's less congruent around the edges, and particularly over there on the right, rather than here, which is interesting. And more about the heart element rather than the head, which a lot of that stuff feels like it's very logical, factual, whereas this feels much more where the heart's come from. Although heart there, head is still there. Still acknowledge that as being important. Interesting.
Okay. So how would you describe the shape now?
It's gone a bit squished, really. And it does feel more of a kind of circle around a sort of circle. More of a circle over here with a sort of things kind of over off in that direction.
Okay. And so how would you? What sense do you get of what lies over in this direction to your right?
The bit that's less important.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting, isn't it? What comes out when you just say it?
The bit that's less important. And over to your left, what sense do you get of what's over towards your left?
Nothing in particular.
Does that feel balanced?
No, not particularly. Does it have to be, though?
Doesn't have to be.
Balanced.
What feels right to you?
Yeah. I don't know. I think what feels right is some of that stuff there, the stuff that feels important for me. And lots of that stuff feels like should, could, expectation, other people, not me. Whereas this is more me.
And when you say other people, is there any one in particular?
No, I think it's very generalised. Family, friends, outside world.
So when you say generalised, does that mean everybody?
Pretty much, yeah.
Even people who don't know you?
I hadn't thought about that. Maybe not with people who don't know me. I don't know.
Because if it's very generalised to the point of being everybody...
I think it's probably generalised to the people who know me rather than the people who don't know me.
Right. And because they know you, therefore, what? What does that imply in your mind?
That they have expectations of me, they have their own perception of who I am.
What are those expectations?
Don't know. It'll vary depending on who they are.
Well, you seem to be talking.
An expectation
you know
that I suppose it's that expectation of what does a business person look like? What does what does success in a business person look like?
Right. And what do you think that looks like?
I think I've always seen it as about money, number of clients. And I've been working hard in my own business to see that it doesn't always have to be like that. Do you know what I mean? You can run a business that you love doing that doesn't necessarily kill you at the same time.
So it's sounding like there's not exactly a contradiction, but an imbalance maybe between what you've experienced in running your business and what perhaps previously the picture you had in your head of what a successful business owner would look like.
Yeah.
And what you're experiencing doesn't look like that, and therefore...
Yeah, no, and so that's where I feel like I'm not a success, yeah, for sure, because I'm not measuring up to what I see as most business owners are, which is working ridiculous hours and making all sorts of sacrifices, and I don't want that kind of business. That's not how I want to be, and I also recognise that I want to be successful, and to be successful I am going to have to do some hard work. I am going to have to do some of that, and that is a real contradiction for me. It's really challenging.
Sorry, the contradiction is between what and what?
Between wanting to have this very balanced life where I get to do the things that I love doing, as well as having, working reasonable hours, and this kind of constant working to achieve a successful end. I want to be a success, but I don't want to do the work. How about that? I think that's quite succinct.
And how does that relate to what you said at the beginning, which is once you saw how many cards were left, you kind of gave up and lost interest?
Yeah, it is a bit, yeah. Yeah, because it's hard work. And
right.
It's just like, oh, for God's
sake.
So
the sensation of hard work only came when you had an awareness of how much was left to do.
Yeah.
So that's implying that in you building, growing, developing your business, you have a sense of how much is left to do.
Yeah, that is actually a really insightful moment, actually, yes, because it does feel like there's a mountain still to climb,
right.
and I'm climbing it still, but it does feel like that. And in fact, actually, I was on a bike ride the other day, and I was thinking about, how do you know where, thinking about cycling as a philosophy for life, right? How do you know when you've got where you want to be? Sometimes you do have to turn around and look at the hill you've just climbed and go, shit, well done, you've climbed that hill. Because otherwise you forget to celebrate the things that you're doing well right now, and knowing that actually the stuff that you're doing now will pay off in the long run,
right?
Even if it doesn't necessarily feel like it.
So when you're at the bottom of that hill and you've decided that's the hill you're going to ride to the top of, you're now aware of how much work's involved.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. And it's like, and me and hills have had battles for years.
Well, in
cycling.
That moment, what is it that stops you just changing your mind?
What, and not going up the hill?
Yeah.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I just go, oh my God, this is too hard. And one of the
That's giving up. That's
yeah.
not the same as changing your mind.
Yes, okay. Why
Looking
don't I change my mind? But because
no, not today.
Because changing my mind means other alternatives, which I really don't want to do. I don't want to work for anybody else. I don't, this is what I want to do. I've got lots of other things I want to do. I mean, the coaching is one, but actually there's all sorts of other business ideas or community ideas I want to pursue as well.
So what for you then?
I like the challenge of a hill, and actually I like the benefit,
right.
And I love the benefits. Yeah, I was just thinking.
When you say you like the challenge of a hill, does that mean you create a challenge?
Maybe I do. I love what I get at the top of the hill when I'm cycling, and it is the view. Some people don't like hills. I don't particularly like the work that's involved in them, but I love the reward at the top. My perfect hill is when you get to the top and the view is
what is the reward relative to? Is the reward relative to the work you've put in, or is the reward relative to the expectation that you had at the start of how much of a challenge it was going to be?
I don't know. That's a bloody good question. I really don't know. Yeah. Cycling analogy is quite good, actually. It does make me think more.
Because if you've got a particular destination in mind, like the top of a hill or
Yeah.
into town and back, or
Yeah.
you've ridden a few miles and you think, oh God, I've got to get home now. There's an end point, and you know what that end point is. You know when you're there, that you're back home, the bike goes back in the garage, whatever.
Yeah.
You're done. But what you're talking about in terms of your business, it doesn't exist today. It's not a hill that's there tomorrow. Your business does not exist today in the way that it will do in a year's time or 5 years' time. So in terms of that sense of challenge, that can logically only be something that you're creating.
Yes. Because I could just decide not to do it anymore.
And you said that the insight that you'd had, you remember what that was that you said?
No, sorry, you'd have to refresh my memory.
Something around the challenge and the... Because I asked you, do you ever decide not to? There's something around creating the challenge.
Apologies, memory's not one of my strong points.
Because this conversation moves so much.
Yeah. So my brain often goes too fast.
For
me to keep up. Sometimes.
How's your brain separate to you?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Do you see that separation in the cards?
No, not particularly. Hadn't thought about it.
So thinking about the insight that you've had around creating the challenge, is there anything now that when you look at the cards seems out of place or perhaps doesn't belong there at all?
Oh, I don't know. Can you ask me that again, please?
Thinking about what you've said about creating the challenge, is there anything now when you look at that pattern that seems out of place or doesn't belong at all?
I don't think so.
So you're entirely happy with how that looks and how that represents the area of your life that we've been exploring?
I don't know.
Is there anything missing?
I don't think so. I think I've got into a brain fog, I'm sorry. I feel a bit overwhelmed by it, actually, to be truthful.
Okay, good. So staying with that feeling of overwhelm.
Okay.
And thinking about what you were talking about.
I guess it's that what's happening is my logical brain is trying to make sense of it, and it just cannot.
Right.
It cannot.
Okay.
It can't make sense of it, and the logicality of connecting everything just doesn't. It's not computing.
And there is logic in this exercise, and there's intuition as well.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of both.
I'm not trying to understand the exercise at all, because I've realised that I can't do that.
Okay.
And I'm not even gonna go there.
So if you allowed that logical brain to take a rest for a moment, and you allowed your intuition to take over, are there any cards which just now seem out of place, or like you look at them and think
out of place? You see
there?
that's like out of. Oh, I'm trying. I'm fighting with that logicalness that's wanting to say. So if I just, if I say that, those are the things that the heart feels when I think about me being me.
me? Who is the me that you can be?
The me I can be is living from the heart, not from the head.
Okay. And what difference does that make?
Is letting go of the logical stuff and just going with feeling.
Okay.
Not when I say feeling, I don't just mean emotions, but more intuition, sense of.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think that intuition comes from?
I want to say heart.
How did you develop the intuition that you have?
Probably from your head, right? Yeah. I mean, it's head and heart working together, isn't it?
Okay. I don't know.
Mind and body work as one, right? You.
Well, it's hard to separate them.
Yeah,
physically.
it is, and so it's the same happens with thinking, isn't it? You know, actually trying to separate the thinking from the feeling. They get jumbled up, and it's that unpicking which is quite fascinating. And maybe it's not a coincidence that I'm a coach, because actually I quite like doing a logical unpicking with people. Helping them work it out is much more complicated to do it for myself.
If you want to move around a little bit and just sort of change your perspective a little bit on what's on the floor, that might help as well. What do you notice now in the pattern?
Head and heart seem to be the middle, even though they're not, if that makes sense. Well, the way they're laid out, they're not necessarily the middle, but they do. And self-belief and fun is a big part of that. Being part of... It's funny, isn't it, though? Self-belief is kind of equidistant between the head and the heart, but the fun is off towards the heart side, not in the same place. Maybe that needs to be a bit more, I don't know, there.
Okay.
Maybe it needs to be more like that. I don't know.
Okay. An obvious question is, how do you know you're having fun?
Ooh. Because I'm enjoying it.
What is that like? How would you describe that?
A lightness, smiling, a warmth, and anything is possible when you're having fun.
Does that mean when you're not having fun, things become not possible?
I think that's when you have to go into your logical brain a bit more and find the fun in it, rather than it being automatically there. I'm not sure that makes sense. I'd kind of, yeah.
Another obvious question is, why then would you do things that are not fun?
Because you have to. And, yeah, I agree. Why would you do stuff that's not fun? It's trying to find the fun in the things that you need to do, like, you know, I don't know, supermarket shopping. It's not fun. But you have to do it because you need food.
Okay.
And I enjoy food. So it's a means to an end. Do you know what I mean? I enjoy cooking, I enjoy eating good food. So going to the supermarket to buy it, I have to find some way of making that fun, even though it's a chore.
Right. So we've now
That's
got some...
that's logical over heart, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So we've now got some cards over here
Mm-hmm.
on the right, which are turned upside down. What do you notice about the shape?
Of the upside
of the
down
blank
stuff.
ones? Yeah, the upside down ones.
Bit random, but I could have just picked them up and put them all in a little stack, I suppose.
Yeah, I wondered why you didn't. Wondered why it was necessary to keep them there.
Don't know. It's a bit like my keeping all the old paperwork. It's completely. Maybe it's about letting go of it. Actually,
Okay.
maybe it's about finding it a challenge to let go of some stuff.
What is scary about letting that go?
Oh, there's nothing scary about it. It just seems to be a challenge to just let go.
Uh-huh.
I think that's probably a generalised thing in my life about letting go of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Because if you
I might
let
forget
it go,
it.
then
I've forgotten it.
forgotten it.
Yeah. Because
Which
because I'm really acutely aware that my memory's not great, and there might be something important that I've forgotten. And that's just completely illogical. It's completely illogical because I know that I forget lots of important stuff, and I don't have the capacity to remember everything.
Would you like to just move over the
Mm-hmm.
other side and again look at it from a different angle? How would you know if you'd forgotten something?
I don't do I until somebody reminds me.
Right. Would you be able to say now what's on any of those cards?
No. Possibly one or two, but
Would you know which one was which?
God, no, not at all. Not at all.
So they're serving as a reminder that there was something there,
Yeah,
even though it's something that you decided you didn't need anymore.
that's daft, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Do you hoard packaging, like food packaging?
Oh God, no.
That's
But
amazing.
I do hoard stuff like thoughts and stuff that I've thought about in the business, for example. Right, early days and stuff. Do I go back to it? No, I don't. I just need to let it go. I used to. I'm a lot better at letting go of stuff now than I ever used to, because I realise it's stuff. It's not really important. Yeah, there's a lot of none of that. A lot and a none of it makes any sense at all. So I read a fantastic book a few years ago and realised that actually a lot of the stuff that I was hanging on to was about hanging on to it because it had memories associated with it.
Uh-huh.
And realised I can get rid of the stuff and I still have the memories. I don't need them, they're just triggers, they're just anchors. They
Right.
don't... And also I realised that the more mentally capable I was, the more I was able to let go of stuff. It's like, actually, do you know what? I really don't need very much of this stuff. And so, for example, moving here and realising that actually a lot of the stuff we brought, just, why have I got this still? Why am I let's just get rid of it.
What are you most afraid of forgetting?
Important memories.
Important for what reason?
Because they're just deeply personal.
And if they're personal, then that's
Part of me.
part of you.
Yeah.
And part of what makes you
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So you can't have self-belief if you don't know who self is.
Yeah.
So it's something about defining yourself.
Yeah.
Have you always been a coach?
Well, funny you should say that. I think I have.
Has that always been your job?
No, it hasn't. But it's
Right.
always been featured in every job I've done, and the first workplace qualification I got was one.
So the interest, the activities have kind of always been there.
Yeah.
You've talked a little bit about sort of recognition. You didn't use the word acceptance, but some sort of sense of acceptance from other people of what you're doing now. So that implies that at some point in time you weren't doing what you're doing now.
No, that's true. Yeah, I've done all sorts of other jobs, but there have always been an element of coaching within what I've done.
So there's been a process of reinventing yourself.
Yeah. One of my first jobs and my first workplace qualification was one-to-one coaching.
But nobody right now, I'm guessing, is telling you what you've got to do, who your next client is going to be, what your working day's got to look like.
No.
Nobody's doing an annual appraisal with you.
No.
Whereas you've had jobs in the past where you've had a job description, you've had that dictated in a way, I suppose.
Yeah.
So now you're having to invent that. You're having to create your own
that's
hills
true. Yeah.
now.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So in creating your own hills to climb now, I guess when you had jobs with job descriptions, you would be set challenges, or you would take on things that were a challenge, like you talked about doing the coaching qualification. Now there's nobody to do that for you, which means there's also nobody to limit the size of those hills for you.
Yeah.
Is your tendency left to your own devices to create ever bigger?
Increasing hills, yes, possibly.
Yeah. How does that serve you?
It doesn't, does it?
Well,
I will.
If you're doing
to a degree, yes. I suppose I could get an even better view at the top.
An even better view of, and if you have the ultimate view, what would you be able to see?
Everything.
Everything, including.
We're talking work.
What is the most important thing that you would be able to see if you had the ultimate view from the highest hill?
Logical and is just kicking in.
And I'm guessing that logical is kicking in to stop intuition from finding the answer.
Yeah. I can just keep thinking cycling analogies. So it's just, the beauty of everything. The beauty of everything.
And if you could see the ultimate beauty of everything, then that would make you who?
Me.
That would make you equal to who?
My higher self? I don't know.
Who is your higher self?
The best I could possibly be. I hate
According
that
to
phrase.
Who says?
Yeah,
best,
no. No.
These are all comparison words.
Yeah. They are.
Who is creating this template?
Me.
For you to live
I'm
up to?
I'm creating my
This
template.
template existed before you were born, so it can't be you creating it.
Well, that goes into the whole thing of religion, isn't it? And whether
Not necessarily.
Mother Nature.
There are people who you've mentioned.
Family.
Right.
Parents.
You specifically talked about the jobs that your parents did.
Yeah.
There was a reason why your parents decided to have a child.
Yes.
So on a number of different levels, there was an expectation already existing for you before you were born.
Yeah. Probably.
Do you have a sense of what that was?
I certainly have picked up from my mum that it's about showing people the way. Showing people a way to be that's different.
So if you could be at the top of the ultimate hill, you would have the ultimate view, but also everybody down there could see you.
Yeah.
And know what?
Ooh. The word that's jumping out is love.
Hold on to that word.
Okay.
And coming back to the pattern here, with that word in mind, is there anything that you would like to change or remove? And these blank cards over on the right, had you completely forgotten about them?
Yeah.
What would you like to do with them?
I don't know. Not put them in the bin. I don't know. Whatever.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah. Okay.
And what difference does that make?
It feels a little clearer, less cluttered, less stuff.
And what difference does that make?
Well, then I'm more able to experience rather than have stuff holding me back.
Okay.
Because that's from that book that I read. It's that whole thing of realising that it's life experiences that are important, not stuff.
Okay. So that's from a book that you read. What do you think?
No, I completely, it changed how I saw things, and I completely am with that.
Did it change how you saw things, or did it give you a language for what you already knew?
Maybe yes. Maybe it was the language for what I knew,
or
already knew.
permission, or
yeah,
if
maybe.
This is what somebody else thinks, I'm not crazy. How would you describe that?
No, it wasn't that I wasn't crazy. It was just it was an insight and a whole way of approaching different things differently.
Okay.
And I really liked it.
So as you look at this now, what is the shape reminding you of?
It's a bit like a leaf, actually.
Like a leaf?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay. Are there any cards or any words missing?
Yeah, probably love.
And what would you say about love?
Oh, that's
What does that mean?
It's part of my mission. It's why it is why I'm here. It's here to
love
spread.
Or to be loved?
No, it's to spread. It's to be an example of being loved, loving, spreading love, teaching love. I am. It was a funny thing that I used to you know that kind of elevator pitch stuff you get into when you do networking, and it took me a long time to find something I was really comfortable with, and when I came up with this thing, the first time I said it out loud, I nearly cried in a networking meeting, it is I help people live lives that they love, where they're doing more of what they love and less of what they don't. And that moment of realisation was really quite monumental, actually.
You help people find lives that they
live lives that they love, where they're doing more of what they love and less of what they don't.
Are you doing that?
Yeah, I am.
Because earlier you were talking about all the stuff you have to do.
Yeah, no, and I think I probably need to. I've kind of, because I've stopped networking, I've probably stopped saying that, and so it's not forefront of my mind. I've been saying other stuff instead, but it is still there. It's still there, a fundamental belief and approach.
You said because you've stopped networking, you've stopped saying it.
Yeah.
Does that mean you only say it when you've got somebody...
No. It's just in terms of... I guess I'm not pitching myself at the moment.
So you only say it when you're pitching yourself?
Yeah, maybe.
What does that tell you?
I don't know. I don't know why I'm not saying it more.
If it was true, you would say it whether you were pitching yourself.
Yeah, I suppose there's elements in my life where I'm not loving at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Not being where I want to be. Not loving the situation, the change situation that is being imposed on me rather than what I want, not being allowed to do the change I want, which is frustrating.
Allowed?
Yeah, I can't move to where I want to move to, and
Okay.
and that's been a frustration for the last 5
So you're saying
months.
allowed, can't, this is all external
Yeah, it is.
obstacles. You've talked
Yeah,
before
yeah,
about
yeah.
external expectations, somebody else.
Yeah, and there's nothing I can do about that. I have to just get comfortable with accepting it, and just making the best I can with it. But I know that it's not, that it isn't, that it is an obstacle, and it is an obstacle to how I
So if you
feel
had a
about
client
myself.
talking how you're talking now, what would you say to them?
You have to look at it different. You've got choices, haven't you? And to be fair, I am doing a lot of that. It's like, I'm trying to think about what it's going to be like when we get there, rather than focusing on the, oh, for God's sake.
Would you not be advising a client to find ways to make the most of
where you are? Oh
now?
yeah, and I am.
Which is what you said about fun.
Yeah.
Find the fun in the situation.
Yeah, no, we have been doing that, and learning to love where we live right now, and enjoying that, and we've had a lot of fun.
Relating this back to your work, rather than getting out, going for a bike ride, whatever.
Yeah.
Relating this to your work.
That's
Are you having fun in your work?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I am. When I'm coaching, I'm having fun. When I'm mixing with other people online and stuff, I'm having fun. Lots of it is about the kind of the stuff that I'm not having fun with is the day-to-day on my own in this room. It's not an ideal environment. It's not. It just doesn't. Yeah, it's not.
What's that telling you?
What's it telling me? I don't know. That I'm best working with others.
For what purpose?
For myself. For having fun.
What is it that you are getting from others that's enabling you
Oh,
to
the
work
interaction.
better?
Yeah, the interaction.
What exactly in the interaction?
The challenge.
Somebody to say, there's a hill.
Yeah, maybe.
Here's something that's possible, or that somebody else is doing, or here's something I'm doing, or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you could rise to the highest challenge, then you would be
successful.
and if you were successful, then you would be,
Satisfied.
and if you were satisfied, then you would be
Accepting.
accepting of.
Myself.
So if you were accepting of yourself, it would be because
because I'd accepted myself. No, I just
Okay.
I've gone round and round in circles.
right.
Yeah.
So it would be because you were accepted.
Yeah.
And if you were accepted, then that would mean that you were
Me.
and
I'm confused. Sorry.
what's right in the centre.
Loved. Yeah.
So if you could rise to any challenge, if you could have a stimulating conversation that inspired you to new challenges, you could rise to the challenge, be successful, prove yourself as successful, be accepted, be loved.
Yeah.
With that in mind, is there anything that you want to change, take away or add? Is there anything that now seems not quite right?
I don't actually.
So your pattern so far is, when I invite you to change
Anything, because I'm trying to
think is resist.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here and I'm trying to make sense. The logical part of me is trying to make sense of. Okay, so how do what we've just talked about relate to these pieces of paper?
You're arranging furniture in a room and you put something, you think, I don't know what it is, but it's not
quite right.
Just move that chair a little bit, just move that table. It's a little bit like that. So you're looking at it and you think,
I don't know. You see, I suppose I'm focusing on the centre, and the stuff around the edge is kind of blurring a little bit. So it's just that's less relevant. The stuff that's in the middle is the stuff that's
right.
That's
so
important.
Interesting. If it's blurring and it's less relevant, why is it there?
I don't know.
Is that another example of you hanging on to
Oh,
something?
yeah, maybe.
For what purpose?
I don't know.
What would happen if you lost something that later turned out to be really valuable?
I don't know.
What kind of person forgets things that are important?
Someone with a shocking memory.
And that's a kind of an avoidance of responsibility.
It is.
It's just I just can't help it.
Yeah.
It's my bad memory.
Yeah,
I can't
no.
because of my bad leg.
No.
So
and I know
what
why.
What kind of person?
I know.
How do you label somebody who forgets things that are important?
I suppose I see it as thoughtless.
Thoughtless.
Yeah.
And a thoughtless person is somebody who
doesn't love other people.
Doesn't love.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So to act with intention rather than lack of thought.
Yeah.
Would mean that blurry outer.
So actually, I could just go like that.
Make the decision not to climb the hill, rather than getting halfway up and giving up.
Yeah.
What would you like to do with those?
I'll put them in a bin.
Okay. And what are you left with now?
The things that matter. Living a life that I love, that's heart-centred, that obviously has my head because I can't function without it. But there's fun, there's playing, there's self-belief, and I'm pleased with myself.
And what does the shape now remind you of?
I don't know, maybe a windmill, maybe it's moving.
Okay. Anything else?
Don't think so. The centre's still love though, actually, even though it doesn't look like it's in the centre.
Mm.
And if you want to be strictly accurate, there's that. There's that.
Okay. And if it's turning like a windmill, what is causing it to turn?
Situational appropriateness.
Where's the energy coming from to make it turn?
Me.
Where are you getting that energy from to make it turn?
Myself, loving myself, looking after myself, doing the stuff that...
Loving yourself is it's a nice phrase.
It's
not really possible.
In the sense that I'm doing the things that nourish me.
Doing the things that other people would do if they loved you.
No. I mean things like, basic stuff like sleep, like food that I love.
Yeah.
Sleep, being outside, doing the things that is purely for me. Nobody else is doing those.
And who's the one person who you've ever known that if you could do all of those things with that other person, that would be wonderful?
Can't go there.
That's okay. You have something in mind.
Yeah.
So when you have that person in mind, loving yourself, nourishing yourself, doing those things for yourself is a way of getting back
some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you hold on to that, is there anything else that is missing or is in the wrong place or just seems unbalanced?
No. That seems... I'm comfortable with that.
What is the shape of the cards now saying to you?
Love is still at the centre.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
That's the centre.
Yeah.
If that's the centre, then there's something missing.
There is.
You described it as a windmill. If love was the centre, that would be a very wonky windmill.
Yeah, it would. Hey, it's in my imagination.
There'd be something unseen that was balancing it.
Don't know. Something unseen. I think the stuff that I couldn't go, I can't go at the minute, is overwhelming me actually.
Okay. And when you
It's probably that probably is the unseen bit. It's the grief that's around that. That's probably the unseen.
Right.
But I wouldn't want to put it there because I don't want. I've lived too much of my life in that. It's part of it's. There's a conflict because it's part of my life. It's part of why I am who I am, and at the same time, I don't want to carry it like the baggage that I did, and live a miserable life like I did for 20 odd years or more. And you can hear it in my voice as I'm talking about it because it was that painful.
Is focusing on what's lost.
Yes.
What's gained?
What I gained was the realisation of the love that I did have, and that I still have love, but it's different and it's from different places.
And I guess the knowledge of how you can sustain that then in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the things that you have to do if that's how you want to feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know that that's possible.
I do. I absolutely do. It was a monumental moment.
Yeah.
It was a monumental moment of realisation back in the early days of my business when I was doing my Master Prac. And I felt it completely and utterly. I felt completely and utterly loved, and I felt completely and utterly myself. And it had taken me 30 years.
And you notice how when there's an unseen force bringing balance, that because that force is unseen, it's going to pull you off course somewhere.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going to influence you in other ways. And
yeah, no, and actually there's been a lot of discussion about that recently, about the things that are particularly around LinkedIn and the things that you bring and what's professional and what's not. This is not a social media. You don't bring this kind of stuff here and da-da-da.
Yeah.
And lots of people are. And I'm not bringing mine. I'm not bringing mine because I know that in the past I've brought it, and I've brought it front and centre, and I've used it like a shield.
Yeah.
To protect me. And I only want to bring it out when it is authentic. Is that the right word? No, it's that it's, oh God, this is so weird. So I listened to a podcast the other day talking about the secrets that you hold on to and the secrets that you don't let out and how damaging they can be.
Mm.
And I have been thinking about, okay, so how do I approach this? I'm not quite sure how this fits in with my strategy. I'm not quite sure how this fits in with where I take it. And so here we are doing another exercise, and guess what? It comes up.
And it's inevitable, I
Yeah,
guess.
it is. It's like another layer of an onion, It's the shadow part that you keep working on in your life. Do you know what I mean? It's the bit that...
Well, working on what? Keep working on trying to hide it?
No, working on trying to understand it, to accept it, to acknowledge it, and I feel like I talk about it like being like a scab. Most of the time it's absolutely fine, it's perfectly, and then every so often I knock it. It bleeds,
Yeah.
I bleed,
Yeah.
stuff comes out, I do the work on the stuff that comes out, and it heals over again, and I don't need to think about it.
So you've used the metaphor of a shield, and is the shield represented in the cards at all?
I don't know, actually.
I think the metaphor of a shield is an interesting one, because we think of a shield as just a thing that protects you from what's on the outside, but if you think a shield's got two sides,
Yeah.
it's got the outside that's going to get battered and damaged,
Yeah.
so that's the side that you're happy to get battered,
Yeah. But the inside
and there's the inside that you want it to be a little bit softer and a little bit more sort of comforting, padded to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, the shield is protecting you, but it's also advertising you as being somebody who's had a few rocks thrown at them.
I suppose yeah.
If you imagine an army on the battlefield, the guy
Yeah,
that's got
yeah.
the most battered shield is probably the one you avoid tangling with.
Yeah.
And that comes back to your point about LinkedIn, that some people show that as
Yeah.
a way of saying, kind of keep back, keep your distance.
Yeah, I suppose it was that thing of it is appropriateness of environment. Again, it's that thing that keeps coming up about, when is it appropriate to tell people and when is it not? And sometimes I have done, and there's been palpable in a room. I've gone, oh shit. And not expecting that. And
if you're on top of the ultimate hill with the ultimate view, is that what people would know when they saw you?
would they know what? Sorry.
So what you just said about sharing and that palpable reaction.
Would they know
with
that?
everyone down here looking at you up on top of that.
Would they see
ultimate hill,
that? I don't know. Actually, that's a very good point. Probably not, because they probably wouldn't see the detail. They see the outline.
Right.
They see the representation, because they're far away, aren't they?
Right.
They see a representation of what you show, not necessarily all the intimate detail about someone.
So is the ultimate hill to have conquered that?
Good question. Don't know. Maybe. You can't know everything about anyone.
No.
And so there's an element of self-selection, isn't there, about what you tell people and what you choose not to.
Right. And the intention.
Yeah.
Behind that.
Yeah.
The thought.
Yeah, and I think
versus the thoughtlessness.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that I suppose I'm torn with is, is it appropriate? Is it appropriate for me to share that? What does that do for me? Because I don't want the sympathy. Poor you. That's so. That's so challenging. That's so difficult.
Right.
I don't want that. I don't want sympathy. I want the recognition of the wisdom that I've gained through the experience, not sympathy for the having had to deal with the experience.
So if you're applying the wisdom, does anybody question, where did you get this wisdom from?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So we started off talking about your business, expectations of others, head, heart, all of that.
Yeah.
So how is this influencing?
Well, it's probably influencing it quite a lot.
Aspects around your business.
Yeah, it's probably influencing it quite a lot because I'm not showing up as who I really am.
Right.
I'm probably not.
Or even as who you are capable of being.
Yeah. Yeah.
Implying who you really are is all of you.
Yeah. Mm.
So thinking about who you are capable of being, thinking about who that person you talked about who's in this unseen area, what they saw in you, the potential and the capability that they knew that you had and have. With that in mind, is there anything that you would like to reorganise, change, take away or add?
That's done with more intention. So, love is the base that allows heart and head to work together.
Okay.
That creates the that creates the self-belief, and that creates more fun. Allows me to be pleased with myself and allows me to play more.
What does the shape remind you of?
Still part of a windmill, but it's a bit of an odd one. The intention is it's like I don't know. The central four are a solid block, and the three at the top are movable in the wind.
Okay. So is it like a metronome or a branch swaying?
Yeah, branches. Actually, branches, tree. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that's perfect.
What kind of a tree?
Oh, it's an oak.
An oak tree.
Yeah, God, blimey, it came out quite quickly and easily, didn't it? Yeah. I find them on my bike rides quite a lot, and I'd like to stop underneath them. I'm a wood element Chinese medicine.
Okay.
So yeah. No,
so
trees are important.
So an oak tree.
Yeah.
So what is love? The roots. Or is everything we're seeing there above ground level?
I think that's pretty much above all above ground level, actually.
What are the roots that are feeding that tree and keeping it alive?
I have no idea.
Here we go again with the...
Yeah, that's just these questions come out the side and I'm thinking, oh God, I don't know. And I hate it when clients say they don't know. It's so unhelpful. I guess it's just more love, isn't it? I mean, if you had roots, they would be everywhere, and it would be,
and all of the different places that love comes from.
Yeah. and all of the different types of love, because when I talk about love, I'm talking in a very generalised term.
Right.
So we're talking sympathy, empathy, compassion, kindness, generosity. You know, love is a verb.
And not just people as well.
No, yeah. And love
Food.
is food. Yeah, food is a big one for
Cycling.
me. Yeah. All the things that I love doing, all the places that I love being, by the sea, out in the countryside.
Right. So all of those things, they're feeding
That
love into the roots of the tree. We've got
Yeah.
the branches just swaying gently in the wind, so kind of going with the environment, I guess, changing with the environment and the seasons. How do you feel when you look at that and think of that in that way?
It's deeply pleasing, actually. Sorry, the words jumping out at me. It feels quite satisfying. It feels quite congruent.
How does this feeling of deeply pleasing and congruent relate to what we started talking about?
Not feeling, which is where I started on.
So how is this helping you? How's these insights helping you to feel that sense of self-belief in your work, to have, or alternatively to not need the recognition from others that you spoke about?
I think the thing is going back to basics about, you know, trusting my heart, and the love and the fun and the pleasing and all the rest of it is absolutely key. Yeah, it's really useful, really useful, because it is about and it is also making me think about, you know, what do I do about the secret? The secret. It's not a secret. Lots of people know.
It's just something that
I just don't tend to talk about.
Right. Which we all have.
Yeah.
We all have things we hide, and we all have things that they're not a secret. They're just,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
You don't go around telling people. But you know what role that serves in your life. You know where that sits within you.
Yeah.
You know what energy that gives you.
Yeah, because it's part of who I am. Working through that is part of who I am.
So again, relating this to your work, how can you bring that into your work in not a literal way, telling people about it, but a symbolic way? Maybe some colour or symbol or object or something which connects you with that, with those moments and those feelings.
Sorry, ask me that again.
So relating this back to your work, how could you connect this more strongly with your work? Not in terms of telling people about it, but in terms of some sort of symbol, object, activity, something which symbolically brings those feelings and those memories and those capabilities into your work.
Maybe in remembering this, maybe in thinking of it like a tree.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite into liking using metaphors and stuff, and actually using more of the stuff that I love as my metaphors, and I've sort of started doing it a bit, telling stories around it.
Is there anything that you could have around your workplace, your desk, your screensaver, I don't know? Is there anything that you are looking at routinely that reminds you of a tree or is a tree?
No, I don't have anything.
Do you think that might be useful?
Might be. To be honest, a photograph of that might be useful. just as a pattern, as an image.
Yeah.
I could look at some. To be honest, yeah, my computer has a view. Which of course I love, because here's the top of a hill. Some of my favourite views are top of the hills.
Yeah.
They don't often have trees on them though, because the hills are bare at the top.
Yeah. I guess when you're going up a hill, there's really only one way to the top.
Yeah.
But when you come down, there's infinite possibilities of which direction to go.
Yeah.
So this conquering the hills, metaphorically the challenges, trying to discover what's possible, trying to discover what was it that this person you've talked about saw in you, testing yourself to see if you can ever reach the limit, and of course you never will.
No.
When you're coming down from the hill, there's just limitless possibilities. With the tree, there's a metaphor, I think, of half of it is in the ground, holding it steady, and half of it is reaching up to the sky and exploring.
I might take a photograph of my two favourite oak trees on a road. They're on either side. There's one very big old one, which has obviously been there for donkey's years, and then there's a little one. And for me,
if there are any acorns or saplings around the base of those oak trees that you might be able to take to.
But also it seems like the little one. It does. It just you come up. And funnily enough, it's at the top of it's not at the top of a hill, but it's up a slope. So you have to get to a slope, and it's where I often stop because I see they also help frame some amazing mountains or hills in the background, and it's just a really beautiful view, and I love it. And
you said there was one smaller tree and one
bigger tree. So I stopped next to the bigger one, and then literally on the opposite side of the road, kind of. Like that is this littler one. It's not a sapling, it's probably been there a good 20-30 years, but it's a smaller one.
What an interesting metaphor.
Yeah, it is. I'm seeing it now. I'm definitely seeing the significance of it now.
So what I'm wondering is if there are some acorns lying around the base of those trees that you could take with you to your new house and plant in the garden.
Yeah,
they will grow.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I've grown from acorns before. Yeah, maybe I'll have a look. Squirrels haven't had them all, but yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
it is, isn't it? Maybe I'll have a look if the squirrels. There was a reluctance.
I'm just thinking time of year, really. The time of year now.
Practicality.
Yeah.
Logic.
I'll go and have a look.
I don't want to, impose a suggestion on you, but it just seems that when you move away from this house, you'll be leaving those trees behind.
Mm. I'll find new trees.
And yet trees being what they are, there seems to be
they'll still be there.
Yeah.
Regardless of me.
One of the things that you were nervous of in this exercise was letting go of things, even things which didn't serve you anymore.
Yeah.
But yet there are ways to hold on to take out the essence of something that is valuable and hold on to that.
Yeah.
There are ways to make that tangible.
Mm. Yeah. Something
that connects you. I find some people say, oh, you shouldn't be attached to things, or you shouldn't. People are important, things aren't important. Actually, I think things are terribly important because they're a physical memory.
Yeah,
there's a physical nature to things which connects us to events in our lives that tells us that those things really happened.
Yeah,
So what for you would be a physical symbol other than this shape here, a physical thing which connects you with a memory or a set of memories that lets you know every day that really happened. And it really is
actually,
part
do you
of
know
me.
what?
Yeah.
It's this already, and it's extremely important. I find it difficult to wear out other jewellery. You know, even to the point of I'm looking at this photograph in front of me where my son was, well, I don't know, 12, 13. I was wearing it there.
Yes.
You know, most of my photographs I've got it.
So understanding why that's important to you
Oh yeah, I know.
helps you to kind of refocus.
Yeah,
It isn't just because it reminds you of somebody, but it is a symbol
yeah, it is definitely.
of a reality of your life and who you are.
Yeah. Earrings similar actually. They definitely are. Interesting.
Overall, what would you say that you've learned from this exercise?
Oh God. To continue my focus that actually love is at the heart of everything and the base of everything and at the heart of everything in my life actually. For someone who does big picture thinking rather than detail, that was incredibly difficult because I could just think of all the things that I've learned and actually trying to kind of thematically draw it together seemed quite challenging.
And yet you managed it.
Yes. Of a fashion. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Really, really insightful. Really insightful. I've got a lot to think about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's really good. What a fascinating exercise. I have no idea how it works.